learn. It is trial by fire.
You do.
But you do learn.
And they will tell you when you're
They
wrong.
will tell you when you're wrong. The voters will let you know.
Good evening, everyone. Afternoon, evening. We're kind of at the point in the day where it's a little bit of both. We are so pleased to be hosting this event. This is part 2 of our Her Seat at the Table open house discussion with our community in the city of Brandon. To give you a little bit of our mission statement, if you haven't heard or read this already, we support and empower women to run for seats on Brandon City Council by providing the training, mentorship, tools, and community needed to lead with confidence and purpose. We aim to break down barriers, amplify women's voices, and build a stronger, more representative Brandon for all. My name is Tracy Baker. Megan Foster and I had a conversation with our mayor over 2 years ago now. It was in the fall of 2023 about the topic that we're here to talk about tonight, and that was, why are there not more women on Brandon City Council? The subject came up in a room with about 30 other women, and I don't know if Mayor Fawcett realizes this, but he had to leave for another meeting, and the second he left the room, the fire got lit. So there was a lot of discussion that afternoon, and we sort of did a side-eye glance, Megan and I, and decided we'd take this offside and start having that conversation with the women in Brandon. So we ran 3 different focus groups that early into the next year, I guess in early 2024, and asked the question of those women in the room, why they did not feel comfortable, what the drawbacks were, what they felt the barriers were to being on city council or running for city council. They were very candid. We had a long list of answers, and we had solutions, so we were really happy with that. All of that was put into a report. Megan's company, Mosaic Engagement, put that together for us. We presented that back to Mayor Fawcett in the city, and then we started working on this project. So it started in April of 2025, where we started meeting, gathering women together that were interested in helping support those people that were wanting to run for council but really didn't know where to start. So as you've heard in our mission statement, that really encompasses what we want to do and what our path has been since then. We had an open house early in December, which was a very casual, well-attended event. And it was an environment for everyone to come and just see what we were doing, what we were about, to ask some questions, to talk to our City of Brandon councillors, some city staff, some women that had run campaigns in the past, and to find out a little bit more about what this was all about. So that's why I say this is part 2. We decided to be a little bit more strategic with our session today. We're going to ask some really neat people some really great questions and get a little bit more information on their stories, which we hope will help other women come forward. So just to carry on a little bit, I just want you to know that we are really excited that we have you in this room and that we will continue to work on this project, because 2026 is the year. This is election year, and already we're into March, so we're really putting our nose to the grindstone and getting some things put into place. I will take this opportunity now to thank our panelists, who you will meet shortly, to the Her Seat at the Table HSAT committee members for all of the time that you've put in, to the committee leaders, Megan, Lois, Cora, Wendy, and Kyla, for those extra meetings we added in there to grind down some of the topics we needed to. And a special thank you to Megan for facilitating our event this evening. So with no further delay, Megan, please take it away.
Thank you. Yes, thank you. I echo Tracy's thanks to those of you around the table, and not just tonight, but also the prep work that we did to make sure everyone was feeling comfortable for today, and thank you all very much for joining. When we got talking about this idea of the panel, it was just before Ag Days, and I went to Ag Days and witnessed a number of panels over the course of the few days of Ag Days at the Keystone, and thought we could maybe elevate things just a little bit. So tonight, rather than what do you think about such and such? Go ahead, your turn, your turn. We wanted to have more of a conversational feel. So we are inviting you all to join us at the table, and we have prepared a few themes that we're going to cover tonight. I'm going to tell you more about those themes in a few minutes. I'm also going to share how you can ask your questions. We know that your questions will come up as well as you're listening to us. So in a few moments, I'll let you know how we can do that. First, we wanted to say thank you very much to our funders. We have received funding previously from Brandon Neighborhood Renewal Corporation. We also recently received funding from CHEF, the Canadian Home Economics Foundation. So thank you very much to those folks. These things cost money, so we appreciate getting that support as we move forward. So for tonight's themes, we're going to start with these two. We're first going to ask about motivation and how you got started, and then talk a little bit about breakthroughs that you had or any barriers that you may have experienced in your years of politics. Then we're going to take a break. So we will have a formal break. There will be refreshments down the hall. I'll repeat this again when you forget what I said, but you can go out to the door and go to the left, refreshments down the hall. There's also washrooms out the door to the right and to the left, so you can watch for that. That's my airliner part of the evening. We will come back from the break and get started at 6:15. So after the break, we will get started on stage again at 6:15. After the break, we are going to cover a few more topics. So we're then going to move into life today for you all, depending where you're at in your career and your experience. And then what words of wisdom have you got for us? I know, that's your most favorite question, I'm quite sure. Almost every single one of them said, oh, I don't know if I have any of that. I disagree. So that's where we'll end off our formal part. That may take us through to the end of our time together. Throughout the evening, if you do have questions, I will ask you to get out your phones and open up your cameras. Feel free to take a picture of us if you want. Or simply scan the QR code there. That will bring you to what's called a Mentimeter. We've got some fantastic volunteers behind backstage that are going to be taking your questions as they come. If it's something that's going to be covered, you may see it asked a different way. If it's something that we haven't got in our plans, we will do our best to make time for that at the end. Sound good? Any questions for the panel before we dive in?
I don't think so.
All right. Sounds good. Okay, we'll get started with some intros here. When it comes time for the questions as well, folks, we will have that QR code throughout the slide deck. So if you didn't grab it now, you will have an opportunity in a few minutes as well. So, my clicker is no longer working. Uno momento. Oh, I'm good. Now I'm flying.
Oh, there you are.
Now
You
we're
gotta go
flying.
back now. There.
Thank you. Val,
Me.
who are you?
Well, good evening. My name is Val Caldwell. So I'm a rural RM of Wallace Woodworth counselor and deputy reeve. I've been on council. This is my 20th year on council. So the RM of Wallace Woodworth does everyone know where Virden is? So we surround Virden. We go to the Saskatchewan border. Our neighbors are Pipestone and Sifton and Hamiota and Riverdale. So I am also an independent consultant and public speaker. And my husband and I run a cattle farm. And we just started calving yesterday. So it's going to get very, very busy for the next 3 months on our cattle farm. I'm just really excited to be here. And it's such an honor to share this table with these incredible women. So I'm looking forward to the next couple of hours.
Thank you, Val. Didn't even need to use my chimes.
No chimes for me. I'm scared of your chimes.
I've got chimes to keep us on time. And I will pass it to Sherilyn.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sherilyn Knox, and I am the current mayor of the city of Portage la Prairie. Very excited to be here. The mayor, unlike in Brandon, is not a full-time role, so I actually have a full-time position, and I'm the executive director for Central Plains Cancer Services, which is an organization where we serve over 70 rural communities. I'm also in the municipal world. I am currently the chair of our city's caucus through the Association of Manitoba Municipalities, so representing all 10 cities in our province. I'm excited to be here. I was a councillor for one term before I became mayor, and so this is my third year as the mayor of Portage, so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. And up next, Sandra.
Hi there, I'm Sandra Clark, the Reeve of the Municipality of Two Borders. So think about Two Borders being the US and Saskatchewan. We're in the extreme southwest. I grew up there and married somebody local there as well. I taught primary school for 17 years, and you know what they say about primary, fair isn't always equal. So then I moved on to administration, and there some staff had to learn that fair wasn't always equal. And then I joined municipal council, and lo and behold, fair isn't always equal. So those are, that's a bit of a life theme for me. This is my second term also. I was on council first term, and this is my third year as Reeve of the municipality. So both of our married children live close to us. The gas and oil industry afforded them to be able to live close, and so my grandkids are all close by, and so that leaves me a little bit of extra time to be able to spend serving the community in a variety of ways. So I really do appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you. And we will pass it over to Judy.
Hi, I'm Judy Swanson, and I'm head of council or mayor of Boissevain Morton. Boissevain Morton is right in the Turtle Mountains, right south of Brandon. I've had 30 years experience in the corporate world before I started into politics, and I was 6 years in Saskatchewan on council there. And then we retired and moved to Boissevain, and I took 1 year, I didn't do a thing, and then all of a sudden the elections came, and I thought, you know, maybe. So I ran for council. I spent 2 years on a council, and then we had election, and I ran for mayor, and so I'm the first woman mayor from Boissevain Morton, so I'm very proud of that. We decided to retire back to Manitoba, which was really a good thing for us to do. Married for a long time. We've got 4 boys, so you can just imagine the number of women in our household, right? And we have 6 grandkids and 5 great-grands, so spend a lot of time doing things. So I'm really happy to be here tonight. I think it's really important for women to understand what you bring to the table. So thank you.
Excellent, thank you. And we will wrap things up. Jan, who are you?
Thanks for the invitation, and well, I'll start by saying I'm really grateful to be sitting around the table with some incredible women. This is something that I've never experienced even as a politician for 12 years, that I was usually the lone woman at the table, and so this feels really good. And I'm proud of all the accomplishments that all of you have done. I was on council for 12 years, three terms, and I ran first in 2006, and unsuccessful, but no big deal. You get over that and you move on. Just like I've been employed, I was employed here at Brandon University for 38 years, and I'm retired now. I've been retired for at least a couple of years. And you move on. Mm-hmm. And I'm a lifelong learner now, so I've enrolled in the liberal arts program and working on a degree. So that's what phase of life I'm at, and I don't know if I'm totally prepared for tonight because I thought it was around a kitchen table. So I have a whole list of all kinds of little tips to encourage all the incredible women that I can see out here to run for council and you know, all the good stuff that's involved in that, and about campaigning and all that stuff. So anyways, thanks again.
Thank you, yes. And Jan just mentioned that she was the only woman on council at your time. Mm-hmm. And we also currently have 1 councillor out of our 10, Heather, and Heather had a council commitment tonight, so she wasn't able to join us. However, we did hope that she could join us, but she's unable to given the job we have elected her to do. So that seemed like a fair reason to not be here. So we're going to jump right in, and we'll start first with Sherilyn, although please do ask questions of one another as well. But Sherilyn, could you tell us a little bit about your motivation and what got you started in your role?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this is an important one when you're thinking about running for council is what's your why? You need to know your why. And I often say to people when they talk about it that if your why is that you're mad about something, it's going to be a long 4 years for you. So my why was I'd only been living in Portage la Prairie for about 5 years at the time that I ran for council. And I was already involved in the community on different boards, and I was on the United Way board there, the golf course board, that sort of thing. And what I really found about Portage la Prairie is that it's got a bad rap. And, you know, there was a lot of negative talk about our community, and that I really saw the people of Portage la Prairie and saw all the good things happening there. And I thought, if we want to change the narrative about our city, then we have to be doing that ourselves, and we have to be leading that way. So that was my real why as to why I did it, is I wanted to be a part of changing that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thoughts as you hear Sherilyn talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, certainly somebody coming onto council with an agenda is not helpful. It's bigger and broader, and there's so many more positive things you can be doing on council.
Well, it was different for me, and I had a presentation to the local council at the time, and I had no intentions of running for council, and I made this presentation, and the mayor at the time said to me, and they're all men sitting at the table, he said, if you don't like what's decided, then you should run for council. I thought, good idea. So I didn't run for the right reason, but it worked out okay. Yeah, it was a challenge. It was like, if you're not happy, and that's right, if we're not happy, we don't like to see what's going on in our community, there's no better way to change it than to actually be on council.
Yeah, and I should say, not so much that you don't like, it's just if you only have one issue, right? You're going to get stuck on that one issue, right? But you can broaderly think of your whole, be mad about your whole community.
Well, I wasn't. I really wasn't that bad, but it came out that way.
I think for me, like, I grew up here in the city of Brandon, so this is my hometown, and Earl Black was my neighbor. So if you're familiar with the politics in Brandon, you would remember Earl Black. So I sort of had an understanding of what politicians do, but not really, honestly, a clue. And then I married a farmer and I moved to a small town, and I've just always been a person who believes in taking an active interest in your community. And I remember my first week on council, one of the grader drivers asked me how many yards of gravel I wanted on a road, and I had to smile and say, what is a yard of gravel? Because I grew up in a city, I had no idea what a yard of gravel was. But yeah, for me, the motivation was just the opportunity to, well, learn more about being in a small community, but also to be able to give back to the community.
Was that real well received when you asked
Oh,
for
we
that?
got a round of laughter from all the men at the table, since I was the only female councillor. Yeah, there was a few of those moments.
Yep, fair. What, were there folks in your corners that supported you or that encouraged you? Was it your own thought to run in response to someone saying, you should run? Or was there someone that kind of tapped you and said, actually, Sandra, jump in there?
Well, my husband was on council for 15 years, so I did see him, working in the vet clinic, doing the other community, what boards really look like outside of the actual meetings of council. So that gave me a pretty good insight as to what it really meant to be on council.
Yeah. How about you, Jen?
My inspiration, I will make no secret of it, was Errol Block, previous councillor for the city of Brandon. I knew Errol on campus here, and he knew my background. I was in the community as the voice of working people and the unemployed and helping advocate for their concerns. And so he just said, Jan, you'd be the perfect fit to being on council for helping all the citizens and people in your wards. And so it just, he was inspiring. We didn't agree on everything, but he definitely believed in what I offered to the table. And he also gave me so many incredible tips too, to be true to yourself and authentic. And I've always tried to be that. And he also showed me to have a really strong work ethic too, and gave me tips too about making sure you follow up with your constituents all the time and on ward issues. So anyways, I have a whole list of tips for you on doing that. Like, never leave somebody in your neighborhood who's got a concern hanging. You know, always help them out and try to understand and get them to the right department at City Hall, and follow up on that, you know. So that's what he kept saying. He was on it all the time. He said, make sure you get back to that person, and the city is on top of that, and follow up. You know, it might not be successful, everything that is going to happen for them on their issue, but you have to be their voice, or explain to them how the process works. So anyways, he was definitely an inspiration. And then my partner, Brent. Brent gave me the confidence. If you want to see a person that has full confidence in the world and himself, is Brent Chamberlain, who's the chair of the music board. And we talk politics around the table all the time. And that's so important, to have a discussion about your community around your own kitchen table. That's really helpful. Read the newspapers and really know what the pulse is of the heart of your city is. And it'll naturally flow when you get on council then, that it all makes sense. All the puzzle pieces come together.
That's interesting. I had a friend who was on council at the time, and they encouraged me to run, because it was the same thing. We'd always have these conversations about what was going on in our community, and I would be humming and hawing if I was going to run, and then finally he nicknamed me Betty Crocker Big Talker, which just motivated me to do a little more. But he also, once I did make that decision to run, he helped me a lot, because I'm a very relational person, and I was a little bit worried about that, whether, you know, I had the steadiness to be on council, because you do need a little bit of that. And he would, unbeknownst to me for a while, he would purposely come at me with things to get me to react, to get me to be able to talk clear, to get me to keep my emotions in check. And I'm so ever grateful for that ally, to be like, I'm going to help you be ready for this position, because those are times when you do need that around a council table, don't you? Yeah.
Mine started, our Reeve at the time's name was Dennis Carter, and if you've been in council or politics at all, you'd know him more as Boomer, because that was his nickname for a good reason. So he approached me at a social, because in a small town, that's really all you can do is go to a social, and just said, have you ever thought of running for council? I think you'd be excellent. I think your voice matters, and I think your opinion around the table would be valuable. And I, again, really didn't know a lot about council or what was, you know, what I was getting myself into, but I figured if Boomer thought that I'd be good at it, then maybe I should give it a try. So it's all because of Boomer knows. Yes. Don't tell Boomer I said that, though.
It's just between us.
Yes, and all of us.
Were there any specific follow-ups from those initial Betty Crocker Big Talker, Boomer thinks I should, Brent's my champion here? Was there a specific, hey, they've opened up, it's time to declare your candidacy? Was there anything?
Well, like when he showed up at my house with the paper that I needed
That's
to get people to
exactly-
sign?
yes,
that was
that's
his follow-up,
Okay.
yeah. Needed a rum and Coke, and
Yes,
he gave me
yeah.
my sheet for me
Yes.
to go and get signed by. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Boomer.
That's fairly clear.
Yeah, it was the same in the coffee shop. When I came to Boys Away, and I had said, you know, the election was coming up, and I was thinking of maybe running and sitting in the coffee shop, and I just said, I'm thinking about it, but I'm not sure. And the next day I came back and it was filled out, right? They gave it to me and said, yeah, you are. So, you know, we do have a lot of support from men and women in the community. And I think once you're on the council and once you've made that decision to run, I have a lot of people that have said, I'm really glad that you ran. We have the odd exception that say awful things, but normally people say, I'm really glad that you're a part of the decision-making in our community. So, yeah, I think we all have that kind of support as we go through, right?
Yeah, I had somebody come into my office and hand me a check and said, here, this is for your campaign. Me, I'm like, why do I need this? I'm like, what do I need money for? I didn't even know that, but that's what helps you do it, right? Yeah.
Jan, anything specific or tangible?
Well, there's something I want to share with all of you is look at who you are. And when I look at, we have to prepare on your life of what jobs you had and what you're involved in the community and just really have an inner reflection on what you could bring to the table. For example, I was involved in labor negotiations. I've been involved in all kinds of, strategic negotiations in my job in administration. And that's what I could bring to the table. So when you think about it to yourself, hey, that's a good one for me to think about when I'm going to run for council, what my skills are.
Right.
And those are the key things to start writing them down when it gets down to writing your campaign material, that you want to really hone in on what your skills are. And I think that's pretty important, because when you go to that doorstep, you might have a window of 20 seconds if they'll open the door. People can be really uncomfortable having unknowns at their doorstep. So you got to be able to be confident with your authentic smile and say, I'm running for council, here's some information on me. If you have any questions, concerns, we can talk now or later. Here's my card. Thank you very much. And keep it short and sweet and to the point, because you've got lots of doorsteps to do. So it's back to be yourself, be confident, and know yourself. So you know what you're good at and how you could help them maybe in their problems and solutions. So, like I said, I'm just going to keep spitting out ideas out here.
We're glad you're here.
Yeah, exactly. I'll allow it. Sandra, any specific tangible step or hand-holding that someone or someone's did?
Well, for me, it was sort of the church ladies saying, where can I get the papers? Let's you and I go and get started on that process. And she also went door to door to get signatures and so on. But really, it was just my group of friends saying, I think you'd be good at it.
Yeah. So there's a few of you I just want to go back to that were new to the community. Would that be a hindrance or a help? I'm sure we can then speak to those that were in the community already, but being new, how do you think that played a role? This is a curveball, I didn't give you this one ahead of time.
I had a couple of women who were people I'd known for a long time, and they were always involved in the municipal election, and I knew them personally, and they took me under their wing, and they said, Sherilyn, we're going to take you to door knocking, we're going to take you to all these places, and then they give me the nice little, but you're new to Portage, so if you don't do that well, that's why, right? That's what they said. But what they didn't understand is that I was new to Portage, but involved in the community, right? So I was on boards, I had had a job that I was the branch manager for Acklands Granger, so I was in every little nook and cranny and making all these connections. And so that when I was elected, I had more votes than the mayor at the time, and they were just like, what? But that's the power of connection. That's the power of getting involved in new things and being willing to help, because then people see you as that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and for me, like, my kids were young. I think Liam was 4 and Christina was 2, so they were in preschool. And so, yeah, just more involved in the community, being at all those different events, you get to know people. So I didn't really see it as any kind of a hindrance not being from there. And in some ways, I think it was a positive, because I didn't have all the history of my great-grandpappy built the school, and I was coming in new. And so I think that did give a bit of an advantage around the table, just because it was a fresh perspective. And
I'd like to pick up on something she said about the nomination papers as part of the process. Is in the city of Brandon, my understanding, I think it's 150 names that you have to have. to be qualified to run for council. And that was a good tip that I got from Errol, because he said, Jan, don't stop at 150, keep on going. So I was one of those ones, along with him, that had big, long lists. Yeah, Councillor Fawcett knows that process. And what it allows you to do is really talk to people, because that's where you start first. So I know so-and-so on this street, and you have a conversation with them, and they say, hey, you know what, Fred next door is going to sign it. So then you get a conversation with someone on some of the issues, and they've signed your nomination papers, so it's, you know, might be a check mark too when it comes to voting day, which is so important. So don't stop at whatever the requirement is, because there might be some people that are on that voting list that might get eliminated too. That's part of the process, is that they have to be a valid voter. So work on that, and work on that as soon as the date comes up when you can file your nomination papers. Do it, you know, like get out there and start talking to people. That's a big step.
Being told, I don't have an earpiece, that the minimum is 25 signatures and the goal is going to be 150, 200.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Excellent. Anything to
No,
add
just
there?
that I had been raised in Boissevain and then left for 30 years and then came back. So the people that were going to be trying to elect me didn't know me as an adult. So it's kind of like, well, where did that come from, right?
Right.
So that was kind of odd, because then you had to reinvent yourself in your own community. But it was good, because you're right, you didn't have that baggage that came with, I can say, well, that happened when I wasn't here, right? And you move on. So it worked out okay, but it was, and I had the same thing. People said, well, if you don't get in, it's because they don't really remember you, right? I go, okay.
Yeah. Cushioning for that.
Cushioning for
Yeah.
the failure.
For the blow.
that-
Yeah. So as you have been motivated and you've gotten some success in campaigns and been elected, I can't imagine it's all sunshine and rainbows, although I like to live in sunshine and rainbows land. But could you share with us a little bit about some barriers that you may have faced along the way, and or what breakthroughs you experienced in that? And we're going to start with Sandra here.
Well, when I was thinking about this question, this could mean so many things. You know, the first is, why doesn't everybody think just like me? It would make things so much easier.
Sandra, you know that almost 10 times a day.
But there certainly were not small barriers, but as a woman, barriers that I found were things like, how much is a yard of gravel? How am I equipped to decide about a grader? What is a utility? How will that work? I felt not equipped for all of the decisions that you are asked to make on council. But you know, I think a way to overcome that for me was just to be a good listener, listen to the people around the table who did know what they were talking about, listen to the foreman, travel the roads. You know, I mean, I did defer still, and I still do to, that's the machinery committee, they know best, and I'll vote for whatever they see fit in our group. But really just listening and learning all you can. I do feel finally, after 7, close to 8 years, that I can have an intelligent conversation about most of those things. So those did feel like barriers for sure at the beginning, but just to encourage everybody to say, you know, you will learn, we all learn it because you're immersed in that as a council. Yeah.
I think it's probably, if most people are from Brandon in this room, you're like, I have to know about gravel. Yeah. I'm gonna explain to you very quickly that rural councils are very different than city
Yes.
councils.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So I've never figured out how many yards or whatever of gravel it is. I just think one thing, a barrier is sometimes thinking that you are the one going in directing everything, right? Our role as council is governance. That really is our role, and understanding what that means. It means you are listening to the experts, you are listening to your CAOs, but you're the ones making the policy, you're the ones making the big decisions. And so having a different perception of that, you think you're just gonna go in there and tell everybody what to do, is not your role as a municipal councillor, and that's important to know. But smaller municipalities are very different, and you do make those type of decisions, yeah.
I think it's great to work with the team too. When I think of my 3 terms, every counselor I worked with, we had incredible relationships. So if I didn't know everything, well, some other counselors might have known something a little more than I did, or administration. I would say that as being the only woman on council a few times, that my counselors supported me and we supported each other. Really, it didn't matter. And I know the last 2 terms, the mayors have been incredible support to me as a woman. And I always could talk to them. I know Mayor Rick, when he was mayor, he appointed me deputy mayor and acting deputy mayor, so he trusted the job I could do. And I felt the same way with everyone around the table that I worked with, that they trusted. We had a trusting, respectful relationship. We didn't agree on every issue, and that's the way it works. And you learn that real quick when it comes to voting. You can't win them all, and you just, like I said, you have to do your homework on the issues. If you're gonna lose on some matters, well, maybe you should have done a bit more homework, or else you live with the decision you made. And you have to be able to explain that to the people in your community why you made that decision. So it's probably a good idea to do your homework before you even get into a voting situation. But back to the leadership around the table, your fellow councillors, the mayors, I had no problem whatsoever and felt fully supported and comfortable around each one of them. So that was my experience.
I just kind of want to go off what you said there. The 2 best pieces of advice I got when I started council. The first was my father-in-law. He said, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, which was a very, very important for someone who likes to talk a lot to learn that lesson. And secondly, my Reeve said to me, when we debate, you fight like hell for what you believe in, but when the vote goes down, you support the vote of council. And I think that is really important, that you do have to work together as a team, and you're not going to win every battle.
No.
But you do have to be prepared for meetings, and you do have to know the issues, and then go into it and lay your heart on the table and fight for what you believe in. But sometimes you're not going to win those battles, and you have to be prepared to accept that.
Charlene, you looked like you wanted to jump in there.
No, I just totally agree with that, and it's hard sometimes, but you have to realize, like, even we know as mayors, we have the same 1 vote around that table.
That's right.
Right? We vote as a team, and that is an important piece. And you have to walk away from that table, sometimes not agreeing with what the decision was, but you have to represent that decision to your community. And yeah, it's so important. I agree with you, Val.
And you represent your whole community. Like, I know there's some cases that people in my ward might have felt more comfortable talking to another councillor. Go for it, there's no problem with that. And I know that even a lot of ward issues, if they wanted another voice or wanted to be heard further, they'd talk to the mayor as well. I know that the mayor would get piles of calls all the time on ward issues. And usually that's when you have a conversation with the mayor about, what the issue is and how you can work your way through it. But you do share responsibilities that way. And I don't think there's a problem with that, because regardless of where you live and who you represent, that issue is important to everyone. Be it an unsafe intersection that might be on the other end of town that's not even in your ward, it's important to everyone. So it's important for you to pay attention to all those issues, and if someone wants to talk to you, you should feel flattered that they wanted to talk to you, and then maybe you could sit down even with the counselor for the ward to make them feel more comfortable talking about the issue and what it is. And so you represent not only the people in your ward, but also the entire city.
I think you also have to know when you have made an error. And we've all done it. And as a council, you have you've voted on something, and then you have a bunch of people come to the next meeting and they're upset that you voted on this particular item. And then as a council, you have to step back and say, let's look at this better and let's make sure we have all the information that we needed. In one case, we didn't have all the information that we needed. And so the council said to me, so what are we going to do? And I said, I will walk this back. I will say that there's been an error made, that we didn't have enough information, and we will make the right decision for the people of our community. And I think that was the best thing that I did, because you didn't go head on with them, because they were right. And you needed to know that they were right and walk back and say, we did an error.
Did that come easy to you, or did you learn that?
Oh, I had to learn that through my corporate world. I learned a lot about that. So, it isn't easy to, you're trying to do the right thing, and everyone tried to do the right thing, and the council tried, but we didn't have enough knowledge. We didn't know about what happened 20 years ago or whatever, right? So it was difficult, but it was the right thing to do. And once I had done it, I was fine. And I had many people come up to me after and said, I'm really glad you did that. You didn't do that right. And I said, no, we don't do everything right. Like, we're not perfect. We do the best we can. And I think that helped the community know that, if you want to talk to us about something, we'll listen. And we did.
And I think, Judy, that's such a beautiful example, too, for everyone here that's thinking about running.
Yeah.
You don't have to know everything.
No.
You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know what yard of gravel is. You can
We do
figure
learn.
things out. Yeah, we do learn. After 20 years, we learn. But I think there's a lot of that, because it's all encompassing. Like, you have to know a little bit about a lot of things when you're on council, but it takes time. And you said after 7 years, and I said, honestly, like, your first term is, I felt anyway, like I was just keeping my head above water, trying to learn everything. You have to be a little bit, on the personnel committee, and then you're dealing with health, and then you're dealing, so there's all those different aspects, but you don't have to know everything. And I think if you build, like you said, a strong table where you have a good team, then everybody kind of works together. But I don't want anyone in this room to feel deterred because they feel like they don't know enough to be around the table, because you will learn. It is trial by fire.
You do.
But you do learn.
And they will tell you when
And
you're
they
wrong.
will tell you when you're wrong. The voters will let you
The
know.
voters will let you
Well,
know.
and ideally around the table, you try to build consensus, ideally. In an ideal world, you try to be on the same page. And most of the time, you are.
Yeah.
The rules are the rules and the policies are the policies. And if you work your way through it, then you realize that you're not going to waver or change too much out of the rules. If you have to lobby for an issue that it has to be changed, well, you still have to work to consensus with your councillors and your mayor around the table on what would be the best solution at this time, right? So,
And working with integrity.
Yes.
If everybody around the table is working with integrity to make the best decision, I think sometimes we get painted with there's some underhanded something going on.
or
But
you can have a
truly-
rogue,
Truly, if the
rogue
council
events or individuals, yeah.
remains working with integrity, you really can't expect anything
Yeah.
other than that.
This last round of, I met with every one of the candidates that are now council before, because they were interested in run. So I'm happy to do that with anybody, right? And so we met, and then we started with council, and I do check-in meetings with my councilors every couple of months. And I remember the first check-in meeting with all of them, and I said, so is it what you expected it to be? And everyone said, no.
No.
It's just not.
It's not.
You learn so much. You go in. I always say as women, you don't need to be ready because men aren't usually are when they start. So, you know, you just got to be willing to learn and willing to be a part of it. So, yeah, so don't think you have to have all the answers. Trust me.
No, but we're used to working twice as hard
That's
and twice
right.
as long.
That's right.
This year, it's just, yeah.
That's right. Mental load, you know.
Yeah.
We know what that
Yeah.
is.
And those are unfortunately still real. We know the data suggests within Canada specifically, we don't need to go beyond that women do carry that mental load. So specific to the other duties that you have being a whole human, were there barriers that you faced there or things you had to put down or you forgot to pick a kid up from something? I don't know.
You know, I was pretty lucky. I have an incredible husband. And when I thought about running for council, I was running a home daycare at the time. So I had 8 little souls in my house every day that I was responsible for. So the first thing I did was talk with him. And then I talked with each of my individual daycare families and just explained to them that this was something I was very passionate about. And they were all so supportive. So I had a good support system. My husband is a farmer, so we had some flexibility. So if I had a day meeting, he could step up. And then my mother-in-law was the backup pitcher if he wasn't available. So we had, I think, having a support system there. But this was something that I was very passionate about. So I tried whenever possible not to miss hockey games and dance recitals. But yeah, the day-to-day stuff is just having a good support system in place that I know our council, we meet 3 times a month. We have 2-day meetings and an evening meeting, and then I sit on 14 committees as well as the 3 meetings. So, and some meet once a month, some don't, some meet once a year. But it is a big commitment. So it's having that team behind you of making sure that you have support in place and, supportive partners helps, in-laws, friends, but yeah, making sure that, because you hopefully don't forget to pick your kids up from school. But if you're stuck in a meeting, you need someone who can pick your kids up from school.
Yeah, fair. I've got 2 more that weren't on our page if you're game before break. I'm curious about the extrovert or introvert. I think we maybe have a mix at this table. And I'm just wondering how you think that might be a strength or what you think you are.
I'm an ambivert, so I'm both. I can be extroverted here, but I am very much need my quiet time, read by myself, and my friends and family know that, where it's like that's how I recharge. So I think you do need a little bit of being comfortable talking to people, because believe me, people are going to talk to you.
In the store, at the post office.
Everywhere.
Carry groceries to your car so they can tell you that
Follow
the
you
road
with
has a
their
big
car.
gate.
Yeah, exactly. But also, I don't think you have to think of yourself as this out person that does it, because as long as you do have those 2 listening ears, right? You don't always have to be the loudest person in the room to do this job. You just have to be somebody that can listen and represent the people who voted for you.
Which was similar to my career, when you're the teacher or the administrator, you're having sometimes the parent-teacher interview in the co-op, or you're having it in the, anywhere where a parent can ask you questions. So this is similar. You feel like you're available to people, but you really, I lack confidence, not really that I'm not an extrovert, but I think it's that balance between being available to people, being that listening ear when they're calling with questions, and having the confidence to get back to them with solutions or discussions that have happened. But by the same token, still able to say, I need my me time as well.
Hey, you can market being an introvert. I'm an introvert as well, and I love walking my dog, but at the same time, it's the greatest way to find out the issues that are in your ward. Because how else would I know about that crack on the street that's been there for 10 years that bugs everyone, and it gets you out there. So, you can be an introvert and still be out in the community. And I think that was important what you were saying too about volunteering. It's if you don't have a profile and you haven't been in the community long, you can still be out there volunteering and helping out. in my life now, I'm involved in Park Community Center and believe in that center and helping them along, move the ball forward, the importance of community centers. And, you just have to stay at being in the community. And if you're new, be out there helping out. If they're having a session of gardening in or cleaning up garbage downtown, Shannon, what that's all about. Hi. Help out if you can. That's what being community is, and representing everyone. You just don't represent the taxpayers as per se some people think. You represent everybody that lives in your city. And so can you be an introvert running for council and still helping out with all these things that have to be accomplished that city administration, the employees cannot do? We all have to play our part about, picking up that water bottle that's laying on the sidewalk, and that's how you get to know your community, and that's who we all are. We've just been an active part of that.
This may come as a shock. I'm an extrovert. And I'll tell you, we need our introverts around the table. We do. We do. There is such great strength in both. Extroverts bring to the table something, but so do introverts. And we have such a good balance around our table of both extroverts and introverts. As long as the extroverts remember to let the introverts talk. That's the big, because sometimes we get a little excited and we get talking a little too much.
You can use the extroverts to your advantage. If you're a strategist,
Yes,
you
you can.
make it their issue and
You can also do the same with the introverts. No, I think a good
Stupid as I
balance. Yeah.
Well, thank you for that line. We do need a good balance, and we are going to take a break so the introverts can go have some quiet time. Actually, introverts stay in the audience. Extroverts, you're going to head out the door. You're going to go to the left, and you're going to head to where the faculty lounge is. Keep heading toward the double doors that you see, but don't go through them. If you go through them, you've gone too far. Faculty lounge, we have refreshments for you. We will come back for our second half at 6:15. I'm counting how many people are here now to make sure we have that many that come back. So we'll see you back at 6:15. So as I'm listening to Susie, it strikes me as well that there is, as many barriers there are in front of us women, we know women of color and Indigenous women are facing even further barriers. And that's something that we've talked about at her seat at the table as well. And we need to make room and space for these voices as well. Is there anything that you can add or speak to that comes to mind as you hear that too?
I can say from a personal note that one of the other reasons I got into municipal politics is because of where I'm from in Portage-la-Prairie, and reconciliation is incredibly important to me. And I just believe that we need to elevate the stories of positivity and change, and there's so much good happening out there, but we have to have leadership that's going to carry that along with us. And so I'm proud of the work that we've done in our community and continue to do. But I agree. Indigenous women, if you look at Indigenous culture, that how important the women are. So we need to lift them up as high as we can.
Mm-hmm. And you've said a couple of times, and we've heard today about the idea of sharing those stories and the success stories. And that's something that in my experience, people will say, a group of women can't work together. Well, a group of women put this event together, and I think we did a pretty good job. So I say back to them, well, that isn't my experience. I don't say that to say it isn't happening, but we know that sometimes it's the stories more so than actuality. So we did have a question come from the audience, and I'm curious if to invite you to share about experiences with that misogyny or the dark side of what we know to be true sometimes. If you'd be willing to share.
I'll share one. When I was first on council, I was appointed to a committee, and I went to the first meeting, and it was all men and me. And so we sat down and we were forming the committee, and we were going to decide who was going to be the chair and who was going to be the secretary. And right away, one of the men said, well, obviously Val's going to be the secretary. And so right away, I just looked at him and said, or you could be the secretary and I could be the chair. And so that's kind of how I've always approached it. I was raised by an incredibly strong woman to be a strong woman and to have a voice at any table. So is it hard sometimes? Sure. Have I dealt with misogyny at this table? 100%. When I first got on council 20 years ago, there was very few women in this whole province that sat in these seats. And so did I face comments that were probably not something that I would want my daughter to hear? Yes. But a lot of it for me is just how we react to it. And also recognizing we deserve a seat at this table. Women have as much right to be around a council table as men do. And I think that that's empowering other women to recognize that we have a privilege to be here just like anyone else does.
I always say we don't need women to lead like men. We need women to lead like themselves. And that's who we need to be, ourselves, because we're a value around a table.
I think we have come a long way in the 20 years that I've been involved in it. And I see a difference today than I did then. But absolutely at the beginning, this was never an easy job for a woman to be in. It was not. It was something that you got pushback from a lot of different people in your community, even in your family sometimes. But I think as a woman, I think we have come, and places like this and people like putting these events on have made a big difference in women's lives going forward. Because there are women out here that are willing to sit down with anybody who's interested in running for council and talking to them. There weren't that 20 years ago. There were not people that I could put my go-to and say. I remember going to my first convention and I looked around the room and it was white-haired men and I thought, oh my goodness, what am I doing here, right? So there is a difference today. And
I do find though that sometimes I take the bait.
Oh.
And I feel like I have to work harder to prove that I'm a woman, that I have to work harder, I have to work smarter, I have to be all the things because I'm a woman, which, I need to stop taking the bait. I'm worthy, but you do get caught up in that.
Could I follow up on that, Sandra? Do you find yourself taking on, we talked about the mental load before the break, do you find yourself taking on that mental load around the council table as well?
Absolutely. Absolutely, I do.
Yeah.
I feel, maybe not, I likely shouldn't, but I do feel like I take that on. Yeah, I don't know what other those experiences.
I think one thing that has surprised me in this role, which as a woman wasn't, Portage has had a couple of tragedies, and so I wasn't aware that I would take on the grief of a community or that of a community and have people coming to you expecting you to lead that. And so it's also why I think we need more women, because I think we're capable of it.
May I just say too that you handled that with such grace, and like that was a very difficult thing to watch you go through, and you really did handle that with an incredible amount of grace.
Thank you.
I think you can have informal discussions with your council too. I know if something is said that's out of line, my expectation is of the chairperson, the mayor, to provide leadership in making sure that there is sensible comments around the table and that women's voices get heard respectfully. And so that's kind of their role. And I think the community plays a role too in supporting women running for council. That if you have, the women in your community have a responsibility to support one another as well. And so I know even when the last election come up, I felt responsible to talk to anyone, and when you're talking about, minorities or other women, I offered my availability to talk to them about, the marketing of it, the running campaigns, what's expected at the table. And so I think that don't be scared to reach out and ask those questions. And I know even if you're deciding to run, you should probably start attending some council meetings to get a feel of what the issues are and be out there and ask, and hear from your community. I know that the last time I met 3 individuals who are serious about running for council. And I'm proud to say that Heather Carews got elected as a woman. And there was 2 other councillors that I met with around my kitchen table, and they both got elected as well. And so I think we all make ourselves available, and all councillors and people that have experience have a responsibility to share their experiences.
Yeah. Something that wasn't around 20 years ago that we are dealing with in terms of life today is social media. And unfortunately, that's where some of that, the trolls can live. And I'll be open, her seat at the table, we decided not to go on certain social media platforms with our group because we didn't want to deal with it, to be quite honest. Whether we would have or not, we don't know, but we made that conscious choice not to do that. So I'm curious how you have used social media, either use it or not, and what might be different today than when you first started years ago. Whoever, this wasn't on our sheet as well, sorry. Whoever wants to jump in.
Well, social media is it's there. We have to understand that it's not going anywhere. But you can get caught up in it. And we've talked about it at council level, and we've talked about, you see a lot of things that are on social media and you cannot take them to heart. You can't get involved in it, and we don't answer back what we see on social media. We just don't. Because you're never going to win that. There's like 100 other people that will get involved. So if what we do is we put out brochures or we do our own media outlet with what's actually happening, not what they see on social media. And I think we just need to not let it get to you because it can be pretty devastating if you listen to it all.
I think using any of those platforms, they're great to get information out, but you have to do it in a way where you turn the comments off. That's my first recommendation.
Yep.
If you're putting information out, you're putting information out. Turn the comments off. Let people share it because you want the information out there. But in terms of the comments, and you're 100% right. It's funny. This is my favorite story about being on council for 20 years. I've received 1 gift from a ratepayer in 20 years. It was a Christmas card. It was my first year on council, and inside the Christmas card was a lottery ticket. So I wasn't sure how to take it. She was hoping I won the lottery so I could leave and not be their counselor anymore. It's rarely a position where you receive bouquets of gratitude. So I think if you do have to have tough skin when it comes to some of the social media pieces that are out there, but I think using it as a tool that it's meant for to get information out is great. I would not recommend leaving comments on. And you were saying something before we started that the way you do your mayor page, which I think is really good for you to share.
Yeah, like I do use social media to put information out. When I became mayor, what I said was I wanted to, like I talked about earlier, I wanted to change the narrative about our community. So I wanted to get the information out and I wanted to beat the message, right? And so I do use it to put as much information as possible out, and we've had a lot of really good feedback from that because people feel engaged and connected, but I just don't take the bait. I will only answer something on my own page. I have my comment or my messages set that says, if you message me on social media, it comes back saying, oh, sorry, I don't monitor this, and please email me. Because half the time, nobody's gonna actually do the next step to email you. They just wanna say something. But you have to be careful. And the other thing is part of this role also is my personal social media has changed a lot. I'm very, very protective of what type of information goes out there, and we're taught that, right? Of being careful about what you're putting out there. But I do encourage, because it's not going away, and it's often where people get their information. So if you can give them the right information, I'm a curious person, I think most people are. So if we can tell them the right information, the less they can make up. So that's what I was saying.
Sherilyn, can I, before we move away from the social media, you mentioned that there was a tool or kit or training or something that just recently came out.
Yeah, I'm on a Justice Advisory Committee, and the RCMP just gave us a sheet of information for municipal people to understand how to protect yourself in those roles. And I think you just have to be aware of it.
And there are supports in place to learn how to do that and learn how to use it effectively.
Yeah.
So more broadly, beyond social media, thinking about Life Today, and I'm going to start with you, Val, how would you describe Life Today as an elected official?
It's definitely different than it was when I started. Living in a small town is different than the city of Brandon, obviously. So we have I think it was 2,900 and change people in our whole municipality. And we're 800 square miles. So geographically large, in terms of people small. So everybody knows you. And I have had the carrier bags to your car so they can talk to you about the condition of their roads. And so it's a little bit different in my world, probably in the city of Brandon. You know, it's a little bit bigger, you have more people here. But I would say it's good and bad for me. I like having those conversations with people. I'm always open to talk to people as long as the conversations remain respectful. But yeah, it's a different world now in municipal politics. I mean, 20 years ago, if somebody phoned you and said a culvert was plugged, you just went and looked at the culvert and said, yep, it's plugged, and then you just unplugged it. And now there's a lot more red tape. There's a lot more sort of top-down. I find it's frustrating sometimes. You just get in a groove with a minister and then they do a cabinet shuffle and now you have a different minister to deal with. And so there's all those different levels of government that can be a little frustrating sometimes. But as far as the municipal council, I still love it. I love the council that I sit with, and I have some incredible people around me too. And I can say these two ladies right here have been a very good resource for me over the years. And it's nice to have that in our smaller communities. So yeah, life is good.
That's great. Jan, I'll throw it to you. Since you mentioned a little bit off the top that you're a student currently and forever, hypothetically, how has life shifted for you since your last term even?
I'm not involved at the municipal politic level, but I am still involved in the community. I stay active, on the executive for the Park Community Center, and I'm also vice chair for the Assiniboine College. So they're both pretty important to me. So you stay active. Got to keep that brain going, and I still do follow the local media. I love my Brandon Sun. And and Westman Media, watching council on cable there. I think you have to still stay in the groove, and I encourage even people that have to recognize it's important to reach out to everyone in your community. There's a lot of senior citizens that are shut in, so you have a responsibility as a councillor to reach out to those people that need a voice and need to be heard. Make sure you go to, the personal care homes and touch base with them. And there's a lot of people that are living in place in their homes now too, and they really need a voice. I know I was on the age-friendly committee for the city of Brandon, and there's some incredible resources to the city and the poverty committee that can help out the broader community. And outside of council, you can still be active in your community and be on all those standing committees that are open to the public. The planning commission, there's so many groups and so many important organizations that need your help. So that's where I'm still out there and doing what I can do.
Either Sandra or Judy, how has life maybe been impacted that you were surprised about?
Well, I look back on it, and it's one of the few things in your life that you actually can see your accomplishments, right? And especially in a small community. I think when something happens in your community and you build a new building, or you have a rink built, or you do whatever, you open a swimming pool. You can see the accomplishments that your table has done in your time on council. There's very few things that you can do that with. So if you look at it on the positive side, that's pretty something. When I'm not going to run in the fall. So I can look back on my tenure there and say, I'm really pleased with the people that I've met because you meet extraordinary people in these, the women that you meet in these roles and the men that you meet they're amazing. And they are out there for the right reason. I mean, you go to convention and there's people from all over the province at convention and you get to sit with, I make a point of sitting with all different tables so that I can meet different people, right? And they're incredible and they always give you a little tidbit. So I will miss that part of it, but I do think that people shouldn't be on council their entire life. I'm just saying, I think there comes a point in time when you need to say, I think that it needs to be handed off to someone else. So, yeah.
Well, I agree. I mean, the people you meet is a great thing. Once in a while, I feel like I'm getting a little bit seasoned to the job, and then I defer to everybody else who has so much more experience than I do. But, you know, you go along and you hope you can exactly take your accomplishments and put them in your back pocket. I've learned a little bit not to sweat the small stuff. I can go into the community, have a conversation with people, but sometimes I sleep at night now. You know, I've learned to just let that go and enjoy the ride. Yeah.
I just today said, I only sweat the small stuff. The big stuff, I'm calm, cool, and collected, but that small stuff gets me every time.
It's a brute.
Well, that's excellent. Are you open to take some audience questions? We've got them compiled. Our happy helpers have been collecting. And again, if folks in the audience, if you'd like to ask a question, there's a QR code in the top corner. You can open up your phone and scan that. So a few questions. How do you okay, so some of this we kind of touched on, so I'll read it. If there's anything to add, please do. If there isn't, don't feel that you have to. How do you handle negativity or public attacks against your reputation and opinions?
I did run into that. And there's a line that you cross that a person in your constituency crosses. And normally you don't get there, right? Normally people can be angry with you and they can say, I'm not sure that that's a good thing, and you can talk about it. I had a person in my office and he crossed that line, but he crossed into my personal life, right? He didn't say anything about my mayor job. He was talking about my personal life. And it was because I was going to be a speaker at Women in Business Connecting. And he said, if I spent more time doing the bloody mayor job, I'd be much better mayor than I would doing this other blah, blah, blah stuff, right? So I just said to him, this conversation is over, and it's over for now and until the end of my term as mayor. We're done. You don't get to talk to me in that manner. But I think you have to do that. I think you have to set that and you have to say, this is really important that you don't get to cross the line. And I think politicians today of all stripes they've got to take a stand and say, you don't get to cross that line, because it's a tough world if you let that happen. And you know, it's worked out really well since. I can see him in the store, we chit chat, and that's it. We don't have any more discussion, but I think you do need to call them.
Sure.
I had a similar one, except he drove in my yard and started yelling at me in front of my kids, and that didn't go over well. So we had a very similar conversation that this is my personal space, and this is not where we have these discussions. But you do, and I mean, sometimes it's a little concerning when somebody is that angry. But I agree with you. You have to set a boundary, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable.
And I doubt that those conversations would have happened if you were a man.
Certainly not in the same way.
I don't think they would have happened, but
And are they few and far between?
Yes.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
It's not between. You're fine.
It's not the norm.
Yeah,
not the
that's
norm.
Yeah, it still happens.
It
Yes,
happens, but it's not the norm.
Sure, okay. How have you handled opposition from the public to city council strategies?
We often get opposition when it comes to new housing. That seems to be, because obviously housing in communities, and when you're in a community the size of ours, there's been neighborhoods around for a long time. They have an empty lot. Now all of a sudden we want a 4-plex, 8-plex. I think as a council, you have to have a really strong strategic plan or strategic direction, right? Because you have to be able to communicate with your constituents why you're making these decisions, right? And you're going to have that opposition because change is hard on people, right? But you have to be able to really stick with understanding where you're headed as a council. Back to the team, exactly.
approach, yeah.
Yeah, and you made those plans in the first place for a reason, and so you have to stick to it. Yeah.
And also make sure they have all the information too, right? Because sometimes people will hear something in the coffee shop and then it gets them in a flap. And then once you just
Yes.
explain to them that that's not accurate or that's not how it's
That's
meant to
right.
be, then it does usually,
Oh,
yeah.
excellent. So exciting. Did you have a mentor during your campaign or during tenure on council?
I don't know if it's a mentor. I had the other counselor on my council. Her and I have been really close. She has, we've talked ourselves through a lot of things, so I think she's probably my mentor. There's other people in the community that mentor us as we go through, and now hopefully we can do some mentoring ourselves with people coming up.
Western Caucus has been a great thing for me as a Reeve. It's a group of supportive elected officials in the area with common interests and common problems. So you're able to receive some mentorship with experience along the same lines. I also, our past Reeve has been a great mentor to me as well. Mostly because she's so supportive of, I'm not surprised to hear that, that. And so she's been a great support to me as well.
I have so many mentors in this community. Merle, thanks for coming out. She was worked with me on the Age Friendly Committee, and I respect all the opinions people may have, especially the senior community. They have so much valuable information to provide to you and to share with you, and you should be there to listen and hear them out. So there's so many mentors. I can even hear from my children. One of my greatest mentors, I remember when I ran for campaign, my son had my campaign sign on his back. He was riding around the neighborhood, So mentors can take so many shapes and forms, and I think that you should also continue to be a lifelong learning and be out in your community. I don't think it's valuable to anyone to sit at home and complain. You got to stay active and be out there listening to people and talking your way through problems and solutions together. So when you do make difficult decisions, you did it in the best interest of pretty well everyone around, in your neighborhood, in your community. So you feel confident in what you've accomplished if you're out there. But if you bury yourself even on social media, if you want to go down that rabbit hole, you're asking for trouble. I'm old-fashioned that way. I think face-to-face conversations are important. And I think you're going to see that even happening more in the academic world, that they want to see the kids back in the classroom, the students, so you can have that dialogue. And the dialogues like this are important, face to face. And so you're going to have to kind of come out of your comfort zone, because I know that we were all stuck when COVID happened and being at home, that we have to be out there and being in the community. And then politics, municipal politics, it all comes naturally that you're just a community player. You're on the team, right, for the big community. So it all makes sense. So.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you. How do you balance being a mom or a caregiver and being on council?
I can talk to the caregiver part.
Please.
My mom passed away last year, but guess what? Mom was my biggest fan when it was on Westman Media, the council meetings. She told me everything that was going on. She said, how come Jeff's got that color of a shirt on tonight? And how come you made the decision on this? And I just think that You know, it's back to the question here. I had to balance the caregiving role, and you make it work. It's surprising. You know, you got to be willing to ask for help sometimes too when you're in a caregiving role, because if not, it can really, you know, affect your own health and your own well-being. So you got to learn to separate your council work from your personal life and find a way where you feel that you can, you know, be yourself and to get through the difficult times on council and just to have a work balance happening. So.
I did get on council when my kids were really young, as I said. So they're 24 and 22 now, so they were along for the ride. And my biggest advice, honestly, is have a good support system in place. Make sure that you have people that can help you. My council was always fantastic, all the councils I've sat on, to work around committees that I could be on that would work around my kids' schedules. So if there was a committee that met on Tuesday nights and that was dance night, then somebody else went on that committee. And so just really, I've always prioritized, no matter what, my family is priority one. And council knew that, so I think you can do it. I think there's a way to do it. It is a big commitment, but I do think you can find a way. Just have a big, strong support system in place whenever you can. And also, I have to say, it's kind of cool to raise your kids to understand the importance of being part of a community, having a voice in your community. I have a 22-year-old daughter. I want her to be a strong woman, and as I said, I was raised by one. I try to be one. So for me, I think we talk about mentors, and I've learned more lessons from my kids than I have anybody else on this planet. But I want them to be proud of me and my accomplishments and what I do with my community. So I think that that's kind of an important thing too.
Yeah, I wasn't on council when my kids were growing up, and I have nothing but admiration for women who can manage that. I see my daughter now, who is in business, working in the community, that sort of thing, and I can't imagine putting council on the top of that. So I have nothing but respect and admiration for women who take that on and do it clearly successfully. So good on you.
Yeah, I think it's making sure that that you're having conversations with all the pieces of your life, right? Whether it's your family, whether it's your employer. I'm very grateful. I work for a board of directors, and they have been in my corner since day one. And then my team that works for me you have to have all of those in place and be open and honest about it, because it is a commitment, and you are on all the time when you're on council, right? It's so, but we can do it. You can do it.
Yeah.
You really can do it.
You have to go in with your eyes open to the fact that you're going to need to set up these things. If you're thinking of running for council, you make sure that you do have that support. Don't jump in until you know that you've got enough people that are going to help you get through this. Because as any person going into any workplace, and this is a workplace, you're going to need that before you go in. And so you know that ahead of time. But it's not impossible. People do it all the time, right? And you just make it work.
Excellent. So as we wrap up, we're going to get to your favorite question. What words of wisdom have you got for us? So I'm going to start with you, Judy. If you're talking about some final thoughts or words to leave with folks, what comes to mind for you?
I would just say that you belong at the table. I think we lose that somehow, that your voice will change the conversations in that room as long as you're in that room. So you make sure that you know that you have to sit at the table. And we said before, you need to ask, why am I going to run? What is behind this? Why would I want to run? And keep that in mind. And keep reverting back to that. Why did I run? And because I think if you go in with, I think you need to know what I'm going to do for my community. How's this going to change my community? And then I wrote down something because I had read this one time and I thought, this is very true. It said, when you meet skepticism or patronizing, and I think we meet more patronizing comments regarding yourself, this reflects the system, not you and your worth or capabilities. It's nothing to do with you. It's the system that you're in. So I think that's kind of what because I thought about that and I thought, you really need to be there. You really need to be at that table because you do make a difference in lives. You really do.
Thank you.
Well, if I could leave one last tip, I would say that the clock is ticking here now. We're getting into March. Election is around the corner. So if you're considering running, you better start working on, number one, your profile. So you have some information to put on a very brief pamphlet. There's nothing more exhausting for people to read than something that's in the smallest font they could find to get in as much information into 3 or 4 pages. It's dull and it's not what they're interested in. So work on that. Also, you're going to need a little bit of money because you have to, it's still old-fashioned the way, but you're going to have to do some print media, okay, for your pamphlet. That's one thing. So once you get out there, have your team in place to get the information out on you and try to go to every doorstep. Like I said, 20 seconds is what you got, but you have to do that. They're expecting to see you because they'll be the first one that might not support you if, oh, she wasn't there, I didn't hear from her. So even if you can leave a little card saying, call me, I was at your doorstep, then they know that you physically have been there. You got work to do. So you better get your good runners ready because there's, that part of the system is old. And if there is some issues that are coming up in your community, pay attention to that because there might be something in your ward that is really troublesome to people that you might want to have a media conference about it and explain what your views are on that so people get to know you a bit and what you are. So when you go back that, say, 3rd time, if you have a little card or something, there might be a couple of little issues that might interest someone to contact you. So, like I said, the clock is ticking, so you got to get going on this right away. So, I'm available to talk to anyone if they want my experiences. If you feel uncomfortable considering, I'm there for you, and I think everyone around this table would be there for you as well. If you just need that extra little nudge to get you to pick up your nomination papers when the day comes. So,
Thank you. We'll keep going around the table. Sherilyn.
My words of wisdom, I said, I'm always one that's always seeking the words of wisdom from people. I really believe in that. You have to know your why. And everybody's why is different, but you have to in your core know what your why is as to why you want to do this. And I believe in these roles, you need to surround yourself with some truth tellers, who are going to tell you the hard stuff and the easy stuff. Because that helps us grow. And I truly believe communities move through relationships. So my words of wisdom was, if you're going to do this, go into it with a spirit of collaboration, right? You want to be working for your community with all parts of your community. It's not your one seat at the table. You have to look at so many amazing things happening in the city of Brandon, and I'm always, Jeff knows he gets the, oh, Brandon got something out. No, just kidding.
We hear that.
Yeah, but I think our province is just moving in such good directions. So if you're interested, be a part of it. You have the opportunity to be a part of it. And I'm the same way. I'm open. I love coffee and lunch, so come on to Portage. I'll go for coffee and lunch with you.
I'm going to borrow my words of wisdom from someone else. If you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you're right. So if those little voices are in the back of your head saying the yeah, but if I run for council, yeah, but this, exactly what these ladies have said. Get your why, pick your course, and then stay to it. And when those voices start coming about all the reasons why you can't, then defeat those voices with all the reasons why you can. Because everyone in this room is capable of sitting on a council, and everyone in this room should consider it. I've always said that. I think everybody should take a turn on council, because I'll tell you, all the complainers would go away very quickly if they did.
And don't you say you see your community differently when
Yes,
you're on
you
on
absolutely
council?
do.
Completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So yeah, just, you know what, if it's something that you're interested in, and hopefully tonight we've given you some positives, we've tried to be honest. There are some things, of course, as a woman, you are going to have some hurdles in life, but absolutely it's an attainable goal.
For me, variety is the spice of life. Councils need people from all walks of life. I don't want all of the council that I serve with to think the very same as me, as much as I want them to. I don't want them to. I want people from different walks of life, different ages, different life experiences, so that they can bring that to the table and add to the decision-making that happens there. Yeah.
Excellent. That's fantastic. Well, thank you all very much. This was exceeded my expectations. And I wrote down things already, and I was supposed to be moderating, not listening, so that's excellent. We want to drop a note to everybody in the audience. You set this up beautifully for us. We have a few more events coming up that Her Seat at the Table has put together. One of them is a bit of a buddy system to attend council meetings. So that came up today. So again, thanks for that segue. You didn't even know that was coming. We will have Her Seat at the Table is going to set up people to come for each of those 3 council meetings, maybe more if they're really exciting. And so that you've got, perfect. So you'll have a friend to go with. So if you would be interested in that, please RSVP. You see that we love our QR codes around here. We also will be sharing this through our newsletter list and whatnot. So there's a sign up form at the front table to please leave your email address with us. So that is one of the events. We also, and I'm very oddly excited about this, are going to have a council watch party. So we are going to do a recorded meeting. Oh, back it up, pardon me. Thank you. Thanks, Cora. I'm too excited. So we're going to take a meeting that has already happened, and location and date to be decided, so please stay tuned for more info. And we're going to pause it and say, why is Mayor Fawcett wearing that funny thing around his neck? Why did they ask this? Why did they phrase it like that? Who was that person that spoke up that wasn't around the main table? So we're going to be able to pause and start and stop, and we will have some I'm going to call them experts, because it's not me, that is going to guide us through that. So more info to come on that.
That's a brilliant idea.
Thank you. That came from some wonderful folks around the table. So, reality show, watch party action. It'll be very, very exciting. So please put those 2 things in your calendars and watch out for more information. We also are going to have something else before we break for summer. So we want to set the table as much as we can and then let Fly Little Birds Fly. Do your thing to start that campaign and start going. So look for more info. Please sign up for our newsletters. Leave us your contact info. And one last question that we often get, and this is, there were the map out there as well, the wards. So this is available online if you aren't sure. Don't be shy to ask. Please take a look. There is a map right there. There's this one. It's available online to find out what your ward is, who is your councillor. Some have declared that they are not running again already, so we know what wards might be vacant. There's been a few others that have said unofficially, we've heard in passing. So as those things get brought more to the public, we will be sharing more information about that as well. So I have one last ask of this table to lead us through, and I think I mentioned it to some of you and maybe not others, so apologies. So I will ask if you are currently, this goes to those at the table as well as our audience, please, my Wi-Fi is starting to have questionable things. Stand up and stay standing if you are currently serving on municipal council. Those at the table and those in the audience. This is an audience participation game.
That would be you, Jess.
And
Yeah,
the
that's
men,
right.
too.
Yeah, that's right. You don't have to have a uterus to play this game. Excellent. Please join them. Please join them if you have ever. Stay standing. Please join them if you have ever served on council. Please stay standing, stay standing, stay standing, stay standing. Thank you. Join them. Yep, stay standing if you have ever served on council. Thank you. Stay standing. Please join them if you have ever run for office. Please join them if you have ever run for office. Stay standing. Thank you, thank you. I do have a point to this, I promise. Please stand up, Tracy. Oh wait, where'd we go? I'm moving over here for now. Thank you. Please stand up if you are part of the HSAC committee, her seat at the table, and remain standing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Please stand up if you are part of a local board, any local board, local to Brandon, local to your community. Please stand up and stay standing. We have heard that there are so many different ways to be involved in the community, and that is one of them. Please stand up if you have attended a city council or school board meeting ever in the past. You are being involved in those communities. Excellent. Yes, thanks, Olivia. Please stand up if you have spoken up about an issue that matters to you. Aha, yeah, we're all getting involved. Absolutely. Please stand up if you have supported women in leadership, either at work, in your family, in your community, or simply by attending this event tonight. You are supporting women in leadership. Hint, hint. Yes, we love you. So we heard from our beautiful panel of expertise that this is how we get involved. You are all now standing. You all have some marching orders, is to get more women involved in politics. We know how. We know those specific tangible pieces. If you have any Betty Crocker big talkers, or if you are a boomer, please come and have women supported in our council coming up in October. Thank you all very much, and I'm going to turn it over to Tracy to officially close. You can sit down now.
I don't know if I need the mic or not. Just a couple comments before we let you go. First of all, thank you for being here, for listening, and more importantly, thank you to the panelists for this great conversation that we had around our dining room table. As well, again, a warm thank you to the committee that put this evening on and our ongoing work and committee meetings that put all these activities in place. And Ida, to you and your staff for the delicious catering reception this evening. Now, Brandon University has graciously donated 2 tickets to the Women of Westman conference that's taking place next week here in Brandon at the Keystone Center on Wednesday, March 11th. So you put your names in the draw. We're going to draw for those 2 tickets. Just one second. Guess what, Bruce? Bruce Lubke has won 2 tickets to the Women of Westman conference taking place next week. Starts at 8 a.m., Bruce. Thanks, everyone. Have a good evening.